Finks Car Care, with locations in Chesapeake and Portsmouth, is your dedicated Tire Stars dealer. At Finks, their experienced staff specializes in brakes, steering, suspension, tune-ups, oil changes, and much more. They also handle rebuilt engines and transmissions, and they're your destination for tires, rims, and towing as well. Finks is located at 2236 South Military Highway at 2711 Victory Boulevard. For more information, log on to finkscarcare.com or call 545-3573.
From Chesapeake, Virginia, 1650 AM WHKT presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick and at GJBTV.com. Now here is Greg Bickaveris.
And thank you very much, Ken Johnson. Glad you're with us on this beautiful January 15th, 2014. Great weather right here in Hampton Roads. Glad you're with us for our weekly interview program, Sports Scene, right here on News Talk 1650 AM. Also on TuneIn.com. Punch in WHKT 1650. Also my TV program, Sports Highlights, on NNPSTV.com. Go to GJBTV.com. Hit the YouTube link for archived Sports Scene shows, and also check out the Marketplace sponsors as well. A lot of great news going on. Find me on Twitter at Greg Bick, at GJBTV, and at Sports Highlights. Shout out to all my Twitter followers. You guys are the best, and gals as well. And, of course, again, GJBTV.com. Hit the YouTube link for archive shows. Great guests as well lined up for you today. Dave Kane, the voice of Virginia. Virginia's doing very well in basketball. Rick Kiefner from the Old Dominion Radio Network as well, our showcase guest as well. And of course, a lot of stuff going on. We're going to have the highlight section, what tees you off, a lot going on right here on Sports Scene. And stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
Attention gun enthusiasts, your complete store for guns is at 240 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Tom and the staff will assist you with tactical guns, custom AR builds, and they handle service and repair. Battlefield Guns and Ammo has specials, and they buy, sell, trade, consign, and do FFL transfers, and always look out for the military and the police. Log on to BattlefieldGunshop.com and call 410-7720. Open Monday through Saturday, this is your store for guns, ammo, and accessories. Battlefield Guns and Ammo in Chesapeake.
Nor'easter season is here, so don't get all wet. Protect your house. Call Crawl Space Door Systems at 363-0005. Reduce your flood insurance, reduce the threat of mold and insects, and save energy. Crawl Space Doors, air vents, flood vents, vent covers, and fans can help you stay dry or get you dry quickly. Contact Crawl Space Doors for more information at 363-0005 or online at crawlspacedores.com. Stay dry, my friends.
Finks Car Care, with locations in Chesapeake and Portsmouth, is your dedicated Tire Stars dealer. At Finks, their experienced staff specializes in brakes, steering, suspension, tune-ups, oil changes, and much more. They also handle rebuilt engines and transmissions, and they're your destination for tires, rims, and towing as well. Finks is located at 2236 South Military Highway at 2711 Victory Boulevard. For more information, log on to finkscarcare.com or call 545-3573.
The people who are being put in charge by us believe that they are better at making choices than us. They're arrogant and they're wrong. But it is time just to take that personal responsibility and understand that these are not rights. These are responsibilities that we have now. But we also have a responsibility to guard against tyranny no matter what the president says.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Glenn Beck weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. on K-Talk 1650. It's now time for Greg's Highlights on Sports Scene, presented by GJBTV.com Marketplace Sponsors Page.
All right, Dave Kane will join us in just a few moments right here. The highlights right here by GJBTV.com, and also our great sponsors like Finks Car Care, Crawl Space Doors, Battlefield Guns and Ammo, Spaghetti Eddie's, Old Town Tavern, and the Newport News Greek Festival. Players going to the pros early, no guarantees. Johnny Manziel, the pro game is different, NBA as well. Hall of Fame, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, Frank Thomas, all great players, well-deserved. AFC, NFC Championship going on as well this weekend. New England and Denver on CBS, San Francisco and Seattle, of course, on Fox. GJBTV.com. Go there, hit the YouTube link on the homepage for archive shows of Sports Scene and sports highlights. Shop on the Marketplace sponsors on GJBTV.com. Congratulations to Penn State. They got a great choice, former Vanderbilt coach James Franklin as the head coach of Penn State. With that thought, in college world, Dave Kane, the voice of Virginia, for several years, had him for several shows of mine in the past, present, and future. Dave Kane, welcome, my friend.
Hey, Greg, how you doing today?
Good. Happy New Year. Only 15 days into the year, and things are looking very good for Tony Bennett and Virginia basketball. I know all the people in the athletic department have to be excited after the football season with the way UVA is playing.
Yeah, it was a rough start to 2014 at Tennessee. We wondered what this year was going to hold in store, but since then, the Cavaliers have flipped a switch. There's no question about it. This basketball team is trending a direction that I think a lot of folks expected them to be at the beginning of the season, but it is amazing what a little wake-up call can do for a team, regardless of what sport you're talking about.
This is Sports Scene. Greg Bicaveras, glad you're with us on 1650 AM News Talk with Devontae and Ken Johnson. Glad you're with us right here during a convenient hour for radio, talking to Dave Kane, the voice of Virginia. And you got to like the record as well, 12-5, and a great trio of players in Anderson, Mitchell, and Joe Harris.
Yeah, and really, to me, when you talk about this team this year, you mentioned three of the guys that have been very good for Virginia, but one of the real strengths of this team is the fact that really you've got 9 very solid options on this team, and you can even go deeper than that if you need to. But at the end of the day, if one guy is not on, you've got to have someone else there to pick him up. And I think that this team, it has been a blessing and a curse at times this year, and we didn't really know what was holding the Cavaliers up at points this year, maybe why they weren't able to excel the way we thought they were going to. They didn't have any bad losses like they did last year, but they also didn't have any of those marquee wins like they had last year, making that resume so confounding as it was going into NCAA tournament selection time a year ago. But, you know, you thought that maybe they would steal a game from maybe of course, nobody's been able to solve Wisconsin, but you thought maybe against a Tennessee or on the road against Wisconsin, Green Bay, or even VCU at home, they'd get one of those, but they weren't able to. But, you know, that in mind, I think that this team was really, as we expected, going through a bit of an identity crunch when the season started. A lot of guys, and Joe Harris included, didn't know really what their role was on this team. And I think in the last 4 games, you can make the case since ACC play started, they've really started to grasp what their roles are on this team. And the first guy that comes to my mind when I think about that is Akil Mitchell. I mean, here was a guy that was a senior, you know, trying to do all these things to lead his team, score points, all those things. Well, the reality is for Akil Mitchell, he's best when he is tormenting an opponent defensively, and best when he's crashing those boards and just being a rugged ACC, you know, menace on the defensive side of things. I mean, you look at the last 2 games, Virginia's held the 2 top scorers in the ACC, in Jabari Parker and T.J. Warren, to a collective, I think it's 4 of 20 from the field and 12 points total. So that tells you something about this team and the identity of this team, which is, as always, under Coach Bennett, predicated on defense.
Talking to Dave Kane, Greg Bicaveras, glad you're with us. This is Sports Scene up until 1 o'clock. You're home for CBS News and the Norfolk Admirals right here in Hampton Roads. Talking to Dave Kane, the voice of Virginia, for several years in football and basketball and other sports as well. And you talk about what turned the switch, because there was some erratic play, like you said, against Tennessee and VCU early on. But for all teams, Dave, I think it's been a work in progress. You see Syracuse doing very well, Pittsburgh doing very well. People are still getting used to all these different conference, all these different alignments down here. Old Dominion, the former Virginia player and coach Jeff Jones, of course, he's coaching Old Dominion, very improved in Conference USA. So it's a lot of random teams, especially in the state, like George Mason's moved on. And it just seems like a lot of people are getting used to league play with a new league almost in a brand new atmosphere.
Yeah, I think there's probably going to be some of that, and I think the schedules, you're going to see more and more peculiarities as it relates specifically to the ACC with now 15 teams. I mean, Virginia's going to be playing on Saturday against the Florida State team that they've already seen once this year. They'll play Florida State twice before they'll see 10 other teams once this year. So there's some strange quirks that we're going to see in the schedule, and I think particularly for those former Big East schools, well, maybe an adjustment, but although you look at the records, you wouldn't know it from looking at what both Syracuse and Pitt have done. Notre Dame, obviously, playing without Jerry Grant, has struggled at times, although they've shown what they can do beating Duke earlier this year. So, anyway, I don't know the unfamiliarity, how much of an impact it's going to have. Virginia hasn't seen any of those teams just yet. They've only seen their traditional conference foes, but it's a different landscape, to be sure.
Save the date every Wednesday right here for Sports Scene from 12 to 1, presented by GJBTV.com and WHKT 1650 AM News Talk right here. Great guest, 12 to 1 every Wednesday. Sports Scene, one of them is Dave Kane right here. And Dave, you talk about it. You got Florida State, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and then you got Notre Dame, and, of course, 12-5, a very solid record and a very tough ACC. But and you look at it, though, too. I'm going to be at the Duke-NC State game Saturday. I know the broadcast situation there is very dire. I remember way back in 2003, I had to work a game as a stage manager with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and that was difficult. Explain to people who've never been to Duke what it's like to do a TV or radio broadcast from that ancient facility.
Well, imagine you got a chance to set up early and it was in a sauna. Let's start there.
Yes.
The temperature, you hear it all the time, heat rises. Well, you're set up in the rafters at Cameron Indoor, and it's a very unique vantage point. You know, it's funny because it is nice to be up close and get a real feel for the game up close as a broadcaster, as we have the privilege of doing throughout this conference and in college basketball. But it's kind of interesting. I was actually saying this to someone recently. When you're up high in that kind of crow's nest, so to speak, at Cameron Indoor, you got a little bit of a different vantage point. In some ways, a less obstructed vantage point than you normally do. Whether you have an official or a player standing in front of you as you try to call the action as you see it. But, it's a unique place. And the one thing is that they'll put these ladders out there. I work with Ted Jeffries on our broadcast.
Sure.
And if anybody's seen Ted,
God.
he is a mountain of a man. And for a guy like that to climb up these ladders to get to where we go is almost worth the price of admission in and of itself. But at any rate, it is a unique place and somewhere that's fun to go to every once in a while. I have to say, as a broadcaster, I just assume keep my perch at JPJ for my full-time job, and then we'll go to Duke from time to time.
You got to wonder how Bob Harris has done it all these years. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Talking to Dave Kane, the Voice of Virginia, Greg Bicoveris, glad you're with us for Sports Scene up until 1 o'clock. You're home for CBS News here in Hampton Roads with Devontae and Ken Johnson. And you talk about that. It can really be difficult for the fans, but just like Wake Forest has got a new facility, fairly new, NC State, UNC, Duke is not. They've kept it. And I tell you one thing, you guys made Coach K sweat Monday night.
Yeah, he's pretty good at that. Yeah, it was a heck of a ball game, though, wasn't it? I mean, the end of that contest was as fun as it gets. As Virginia erases that 11-point deficit in 3 minutes' time, they had a chance to do what they have not been able to do in almost 20 years, which is to win in that building. And one of the special opportunities you just don't get an opportunity at too frequently. So in that sense, I know the guys were disappointed they weren't able to capitalize with a 1-point lead and obviously kind of a funny bounce off that 3-point shot from Rashid Suleiman in the corner with 18 seconds left to put Duke ahead. But, with that in mind, I think for this Virginia team, still, you don't think of this team as young, but there are only 2 seniors on this roster and a lot of new faces, as I mentioned, dotted throughout. It is still a young team. Only 4 of those guys had ever played in that building prior to that contest. So I think for them to go in there and have that experience and prove that they could beat Duke, yes, Duke is a team that may be a little bit more down than it has been at 2-2 in ACC play. I'll be surprised, though, if this team at the end of the season isn't among the contenders for a national championship. I think they've got loads of talent, and they're still trying to figure out themselves a little bit as well and get back to that defensive brand of basketball that Coach K has been preaching for so many years. But they look like a pretty good defensive team on Monday night, I'll tell you that much. And for Virginia to hang with them the way they did and show the resilience and the toughness to not back down in that environment, I think is going to serve Virginia as well down the road.
Yeah, this is when you want to make it count during conference play in January and February before March Madness. And I know you're pushed for time. I want to ask you about football before you leave. You look at Virginia football, 3 winning seasons since 2005, 2007, 2011 to be exact were winning seasons. Virginia the last 2 years, 6-18. Even with great recruits, there's been some coaching changes. Poindexter's gone on to Connecticut and some other changes as well. This is going to be a big year for Mike London. It starts now.
Yeah, for Coach London, he knows that this is make or break. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. And for everybody who's down on Virginia football, saying, okay, this team only wins 2 games last year and 4 games the year before that, it is remarkable that the recruiting, I'll say this too, has been able to sustain the level of momentum that it has through it all. I mean, that speaks to these guys as recruiters. But with that in mind, I think from Virginia's perspective, you mentioned some of the down times of late. There's a correlation and a direct one with that trigger man. You have got to have a good quarterback in a sport that places so much value, so much emphasis on that position. And Virginia just has not been able to get consistency from that spot over recent history. So I think that's such a key part of Virginia's hopes next year. And Corwin Cutler will be in the mix, the guy that you all know well down in your part of the state. And, of course, you'll see Grayson Lambert back in the mix. You hope maybe he can grow. I think he's got all the tools you need. And then there's David Watford, who did struggle at times this year, and a guy that did get his chances. So I'm very curious to see what that rotation is going to look like going into the spring and then the subsequent fall practices as this team continues to try to look ahead to the future. But outside of that quarterback spot, it's pretty remarkable. You're going to lose 2 good starters on that offensive line, but you get 8 of your other 10 guys back, and there's a lot of talent that will be back on this team from a season from now. But, talent, as you said, doesn't always equate to success. This team needs to find a way, though, and they need to do it in a hurry.
Sure, and final question. Virginia's dominated VMI last year, but they do play Richmond this year. Coach London's former team. And you remember, it's not been that too far ago that Wayne Mary beat Virginia and Al Groh. And could you imagine, Dave, at the early part of the season with UCLA and Richmond to start the year, that Rocco, the former UVA quarterback, comes back to Charlottesville from being at Richmond and beats his old team? Now, let me say this. It happened way back in '86. You've heard stories where Kenny Lambion, who played basketball with Ralph Sampson, went to Wayne Mary and beat George Welsh and Virginia in football. Now, crazier things have happened, but that would be a really awkward way to start the year.
That's an understatement. I think that would be an outlandishly awkward moment for this football program. And to your point, I don't think this team's going to be overlooking Richmond. I'll promise you that much going into the season. And I think you come off of a 2-10 season, you're not in a position to really be overlooking anybody. So they're going to have to play their best. And the big questions to me for Virginia next year, if you had 2 of them, it's quarterback. And it's also that schedule, because it's going to be another bear of a schedule. You mentioned UCLA. You've also got trips to Florida State, to Virginia Tech. It's going to be a long road for Virginia, but they can do it again. They've got the talent, but, man, they're going to have to earn it next season.
Well, Dave, good luck. Again, thanks for your time, talent, and treasure today. Good luck against Florida State this weekend, against North Carolina as well.
All right, Greg. Appreciate it and enjoyed it as always. Take care.
Thank you. Dave Kane right there, real classy act, play-by-play announcer for Virginia. For more, go to virginiasports.com. Really great guest right here on Sports Scene. Greg Bickabear is glad you're with us on this beautiful January 15th. Got to give a shout-out to my sister. Her birthday is tomorrow. Her and her baby Maria always out having fun as well. Congratulations to both of them. Again, find me at Greg Bick on Twitter, at GJBTV on Twitter, and at Sports Highlight on Twitter as well. Go to gjbtv.com homepage, click the YouTube link, and see archive shows of Sports Scene and our marketplace sponsors for our great sponsors as well. We're going to come back with some What Tees You Off after these messages. Rick Kiefner as well, and a lot more on Sports Scene on News Talk 1650. Stay tuned.
Finks Car Care is your place for all of your automotive needs. They handle state inspections, brakes, tune-ups, oil changes, transmission service, radiator repair. They have a wide variety of tires, and when it comes to your car, they do it all. Visit their 2 locations at 2711 Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth and 2236 South Military Highway in Chesapeake. For more, log on to FinksCarCare.com and call 545-3573.
Nor'easter season is here, so don't get all wet.
Protect your house. Call Crawl Space Door Systems at 363-0005. Reduce your flood insurance, reduce the threat of mold and insects, and save energy. Crawl Space Doors, air vents, flood vents, vent covers, and fans can help you stay dry or get you dry quickly. Contact Crawl Space Doors for more information at 363-0005 or online at crawlspacedores.com. Stay dry, my friends.
Attention gun enthusiasts, your complete store for guns is at 240 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Tom and the staff will assist you with tactical guns, custom AR builds, and they handle service and repair. Battlefield Guns and Ammo has specials, and they buy, sell, trade, consign, and do FFL transfers, and always look out for the military and the police. Log on to BattlefieldGunshop.com and call 410-7720. Open Monday through Saturday, this is your store for guns, ammo, and accessories. Battlefield Guns and Ammo in Chesapeake.
A federal judge ruled that the NSA's secret collection of cell phones and internet activity is unconstitutional. And then another federal judge ruled that the NSA's secret collection of cell calls and internet activity is constitutional. Well, that clears that up, doesn't it? I'll tell you what both sides are saying, and I'll let you know what I think. And I'll give you plenty of legal advice, which, no secret here, is marginal at best.
Handle on the Law, Saturdays, 5 to 8 p.m. on K-Talk 1650. Let's get back to Greg Bigoveris and Sports Scene on 1650 WHKT.
And thank you very much, Ken Johnson. Glad you're with us on 1650 AM News Talk. Greg Bigoveris along with Devontae, Ken Johnson. Glad you're with us up until 1 o'clock right here on the radio, right here on TuneIn.com as well. Punch in WHKT, your home for CBS News at the top of the hour, at least 24/7 for the most part. Your home for the Admirals as well, and also GJBTV.com marketplace sponsors and the YouTube link for archive shows as well. And of course, as far as what tees me off coming up, Ken Johnson.
What tees you off? Presented by GJBTV.com.
And of course, gentle. I'm always gentle, of course, but some random thoughts, of course. After the Super Bowl, it'll be a big void without the NFL. I'm wondering how the Super Bowl is going to look, though, in the tri-state area in the cold on February 2nd. Who's going to be sitting out there? The A-Rod suspension for 2014. Bottom line, no illegal substances. Don't cheat. You'll still be playing baseball. Social events, a little off the mix from sports. 2 to 3 hours for any social event is pretty much the max time. After that, you get an idle chit-chat, and it really becomes awkward like we were talking to with Dave King. Think before you speak. And also, the key word for the day is gentle. And the tolls, Ken Johnson. February 1st, my friend. How will that affect businesses from Waterside to Portsmouth? And can you imagine your traffic report on Monday, February the 3rd?
I found it rather interesting. We had some big, heavy traffic this week heading for the downtown tunnel on the westbound side, heading for the shipyard for the most part, but also heading for the tunnel itself. And it was backed up all the way down Brambleton Avenue. At one point, it was back down to Ballantyne Boulevard, which is a major backup. The alternate route, which is not that far and easy to get to, is the Jordan Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was on it.
Yeah.
It was a ghost town. Why? Because it has a toll. So come February 1st, it will be interesting to see how many people decide to take the high-rise bridge or the Gilmerton Bridge as the alternate routes to get around the three tolled bridges, which will be the Midtown Tunnel, Downtown Tunnel, and the Jordan Bridge, to see if the traffic jam occurs at the high-rise bridge and how little traffic there might be at the Downtown Tunnel.
And growing up in Newport News and Virginia Beach, I know you grew up in Virginia Beach as well, it doesn't take much to have a gridlock in this area.
Oh, no, very little. And an update, I don't know if you saw on the news the other day, for a while everybody was going to Massachusetts online to get their transponders if they decide to get the Easy Pass transponders for the tolls. But now we're told that if you do that, you can't avoid the fee because you're using it in Virginia. Well, you know, that kind of got changed up. How did that all of a sudden? Isn't it interesting that story came out just a few days after the inauguration of Governor McCall?
There you go. And my picks, New England and Denver. I picked all the games right last week, even got the score right between Denver and San Diego. So New England and Denver, Manning and Brady Bowl. I am going to go with Denver at home. San Francisco and Seattle. I'll tell you, San Francisco is playing the best football in the NFL right now, but Seattle and that 12th man at home in the state of Washington, I think the Seattle team will take care of the 49ers. All right, we got CBS News coming up. We got Rick Kiefner and a lot more. Stay tuned for Sports Scene.
Got a minute to go here before we get to CBS, so we'll give you a fill-in on the traffic. Fortunately, not a lot of that going on today. We had a busy morning, but most of the fog is cleared away, and the crashes we had and the incidents we had earlier today are all gone. I had some stoppages at the Monterey Merrimack northbound earlier. Most of those are just to get large vehicles with large freight through the Monterey Merrimack Memorial Bridge Tunnel, rather. So those are fairly short in duration, only about 4 to 5 minutes, and doesn't cause much of a backup, but you may see some delays if they're continuing that. They were also doing some maintenance on the James River Bridge earlier, but I think they've pretty much finished that up. Got that done. Toot sweet. We have one bridge opening on the schedule. That's the Berkeley Bridge, which normally doesn't have a schedule. It's on demand between 9 o'clock in the morning and the early afternoon, but they do have one today. 2:15 is a scheduled time for the Berkeley Bridge. Looking for cloudy skies for the rest of the day. Now the fog is gone. 57 for the high. Increasing cloudiness tonight, a low of 37. Decreasing cloudiness tomorrow, a high of 43. Then for the weekend, partly cloudy Friday, 54. Partly cloudy Saturday, 43. And sunshine for Sunday with a high of 48 degrees. More of Greg Bicoveris and Sports Scene coming up after this short break and an update from CBS News. It's 12:31.
CBS News Update. I'm Steve Kathan. Two sides before the U.S. Supreme Court arguing about the Massachusetts law keeping Eleanor McCullen and other protesters 35 feet from abortion clinics.
I'm impeded from my message of love and my message of help.
State Attorney General Martha Coakley.
The Massachusetts statute is constitutional. We should be about enlarging people's rights, not limiting them.
CBS News correspondent Barry Bagnato covered the arguments.
Both conservatives and liberals on the Supreme Court bench here wondered whether the Massachusetts law is too broad, sweeping up permissible free speech. Justice Samuel Alito argued that inside the buffer zone, a clinic employee could legally say to a woman heading inside, "Good morning, this is a safe facility." But someone could not tell that woman, "Good morning, this is an unsafe facility." That is the effect of the statute, Justice Anthony Kennedy agreed. He's often a key vote in First Amendment disputes here at the High Court.
The court upheld a Colorado protest zone 14 years ago. CBS News Update. I'm Steve Kathan.
Let's get back to Greg Bicoveris and Sports Scene on 1650 WHKT.
And thank you very much, Ken Johnson. And a shout out to my buddy Ken. We used to work at a news talk station down the dial for 6 years together. Always a pleasure to work with Ken Johnson each week, and also Devontae as well for producing the show. Also archived on gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link. 24 hours from now, this show will be archived. We'll be taking your calls a little bit later at 454-1650, 454-1650. A regular on Sports Scene, on radio and TV, also on Sports Highlights. Longtime voice of the Old Dominion Monarchs since the 70s. Done a lot of radio there, a lot to the athletic department. Rick Kiefner. Rick, welcome to 1650.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to being with you.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Let's start off with Old Dominion and Jeff Jones. Your thoughts so far? They're 7-9, 1-0, and I think he's really brought a new energy to the program that really needed it.
Absolutely. 2-game winning streak, beating George Mason at home January the 4th, and then on the road last Saturday against East Carolina. Two nice upsets for Jeff, and they're doing well. You know, they're Old Dominion's leaving today for a trip down to Florida to play Florida International. And you might remember their coach is last year's coach, Norfolk State's Anthony Evans. And then on Saturday in Boca Raton, they'll play Florida Atlantic, Mike Jarvis, the coach there. So, boy, Old Dominion, I mean, if they could play like they have played these last two games, Greg, they could come away with a couple of wins, which I didn't think would happen in the beginning of the season. They're doing a lot better than I thought they would.
And way back in the day, Old Dominion, of course, was in the Sun Belt. You remember all the great rivalries, but for the long time they were in the CAA. And you look at George Mason, the Atlantic 10, VCU's doing very well in the Atlantic 10. And then Old Dominion, it's the biggest thing is these teams they're going to be playing against. Now, it's one thing to play VCU and George Mason. You recognize those names. The fans do as well. How will the attendance be when they play teams that a lot of teams have never heard of? You remember UAB back in the day when they were in the Sun Belt and Gene Bartow coached them, but not many of these teams are recognizable here in Hampton Roads. How do you think that will affect the attendance at the TED, or is that correlated with just wins, you think?
Well, I think it's correlated with the wins. I think after the George Mason win and of course on the road against East Carolina, if Old Dominion comes away with a couple of wins in Florida, I think we could have really a good crowd. Now, we had a great crowd at George Mason. It was over 7,500 people. But, it's I think the second part of the season, it's all going to be, teams in U.S. Conference USA, and there's no conflict. I tell you, ever since I can remember, Greg, the December holidays have always been terrible for Old Dominion sports because everybody's got parties, et cetera. But after that, things kind of simmer down, et cetera, and they get into the flow of things. So if Old Dominion can come away with 2 wins, I think we'll have a great crowd. Old Dominion's next game is Thursday, a week from tomorrow, January 23rd. They'll be taking on Southern Mississippi. And we could have a good crowd, even though it's on a Thursday night. But, I think a lot of people are just, wanting to see what this team does, and I think they've done very, very, very well. They won 5 games last year. Already they've won 7 games, 7-9, and quite frankly, they're in a better position than I thought they would be at the first half of the season.
Talking to Rick Heapner, also an Old Dominion information here too. We'll be doing a program with them on Channel 13 that'll run April the 12th from 5:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. Wood Selig will be the featured guest, as well as Karen Barefoot too. But you look at Jeff Jones, and I've had him on Sports Scene, also Sports Highlights too. And I told him when I interviewed him, I said, look, you got a great opportunity here to get Virginia alumni as well that followed you as a player with Ralph Sampson and Jeff Lamp. Of course, great heyday back then for Virginia in the late 70s, early 80s, and also as a head coach at Virginia. So the alumni from UVA have also started going to some Old Dominion games too. And the more he wins, the more the Old Dominion alumni fans and students and sponsors will also pay attention to him as well.
Oh, absolutely. He's made some nice relationships and friendships with the UVA fans, but we got to remember that was probably 14, 15 years ago that he was at UVA. All those years, I think 12, 13, up in Washington D.C. with the Eagles American University. But what he has done so far, I mean, basically they are playing with 7 players. As far as their rotation is concerned, 9 people have gotten into the lineup, but basically they're playing with 7 players, and it's a guard-oriented squad. They're always smaller than everybody else, yet they basically out-rebound everybody else. And what we're seeing this year is we're seeing a lot of heart and a lot of effort. And there's not a lot of talent, you might say, as far as scoring, et cetera. But he is. I think he is getting 110% out of everybody, and I've been really happy with the guard play, Baycoat and Palmore, and especially Palmore. I mean, he has surprised me more than anybody. The sophomore from Stone Mountain, Georgia, he has had some spectacular games. Last year. He was a freshman, and he had a lot of publicity coming in, et cetera. But he wound up. He's not a three-point shooter. He is not an outside shooter. He does all these teardrop shots and getting into the lane, and his scoring is all inside the paint. Last year he took 10 shots from beyond the arc, 1 out of 10 from beyond the arc. That's not his game, but Jeff Jones has recognized what his game is and how he can be important to Old Dominion, and it's that inside play. And he did a great job the other night splitting the defense for East Carolina. I think he had like 18 points at the end of the first half.
Mm-hmm. Talking to Rick Heapner, Greg Bicaveras, glad you're with us on Sports Scene. Your home for CBS News is right here, 1650 AM WHKT. Glad you're with us every Wednesday from 12 to 1 at a convenient time to be on the radio. And of course, you mentioned Baycoat and Richard Ross, but Dimitri Batten, of course, he went to Heritage High School in Kecoughtan. I used to broadcast his games on TV and Newport News. He's a redshirt junior, kind of erratic. He's a big shooter, not the best percentage scorer in the world, but he can get you that occasional three when you really need it.
Oh, absolutely. He's had some big scores already this season. He was the second leading scorer last year. So the leading scorer coming back from last year's team, averaging 10 points a game, a little bit less right now. But he can do it from the outside, as you mentioned, Greg, but also on the inside. I think he does a great job of penetrating. He's strong inside, and usually the guards that are guarding him aren't as strong as he is, and he's able to, has a quick first step and able to drive to the hole, and he either gets fouled and or just puts up the shot. So he can do it outside, inside, and he's got a lot of experience. Redshirt junior out of Newport News.
I'm really impressed how well he's matured too, Rick. He looks like he's evolved. Yeah. He looks like he's evolved as a young man. He really has.
Yeah, he has grown up. I'll be very honest with you. His first couple of years, and I'd heard some stories about him when he was in Newport News,
Sure,
and basically, you know, obviously he was a big man in the campus, and you know, a lot of mouth, et cetera, and everything. But you know, as all these kids do, when they get into college and playing with older people and everything, he has matured off the floor.
Yeah, let's switch gears to the women's basketball team. Speaking of Newport News, Karen Barefoot went to Menchville High School. She also was the head coach of the apprentice school for a while. Her team as well is 7-9, 0-2 in Conference USA. And before we mention that, the facility at the TED, I mean, it's hard to believe it started in 02-03, hosted a lot of NCAA women's tournaments over the years, including this past school year too. What a great facility. Unlike football, where you have to worry about the weather or being comfortable, there's not a bad seat in the house at the TED, and it really is more of an event. Even if you're not a big basketball fan, it's the before and the after, the social, the big blue room. A lot of people like the fact that it's indoors, of course, like all places are, but they don't have to worry about the weather. They don't have to worry about being there for 6 to 8 hours like a football game. It's really a nice event.
It really is, and they you know, you mentioned their record so far. They got a game tonight against Southern Mississippi, and on paper, you know, Southern Mississippi is a big favorite. And I think Karen would tell you, if she was on right now, that so far it's been disappointing for her squad. I think she's now in her third year, has brought in some good players, et cetera, and kind of changed the atmosphere over there. And, you know, they're very athletic, et cetera. But I think right now, Karen, in being honest with you, would say, Greg, you know, we are not where I thought we would be at this particular stage of the 2013-2014 basketball season.
Exactly, talking to Rick Kiefner. But it's like I told Dave Kane, the voice of Virginia, who was on before you, and said, just because you can recruit well or sell the program well doesn't mean it's going to get wins and, you know, at the football or basketball program. And, you know, look how many coaching changes have been in the NFL so far. The wins are still the bottom line.
Absolutely, and you know, she's got a couple of star players there, but again, it's knowing the system, and but you know, I mean, I have great confidence in her. I know the people at Old Dominion, the athletic administration, and the president, et cetera, have great confidence. I mean, she's a go-getter. She's energetic, positive, and I think was what the women's program needed. But in her third year, and you know, it's just going to get better.
Last question for you, Rick. I know you appreciate your time and your talent right here on News Talk 1650. Greg Bickavera is glad you're with us on Sports Scene on the radio, also on TuneIn.com. Punch in WHKT. Tell your friends as well, right here about 1650. And, of course, football, great winning season. Kind of a awkward game against the last game of the year against North Carolina, but bottom line is Bobby Walters winning. But like Bobby does, though, he changes his coaching staff a lot. There's a lot of, especially in the defensive end, he realizes that is an issue.
Oh, absolutely. It's been that issue for every year. I mean, it's just Old Dominion. The modus operandi is just, you know, we have to outscore the other team. And Bobby's still constantly looking for, you know, to improve, et cetera. And the most improvement we can have is on the defensive end. He's brought in some new coaches, et cetera, try and tweak that. You know, you got to remember when we basically our last year or so when we were in FCS and then going to FBS. We really never had any coaches that played in Division 1A, or I should say coached in Division 1A. He has gradually done that and brought some coaches in, et cetera. But it's just a matter, you know, that North Carolina game, I mean, there was injuries, and obviously that was a big win for North Carolina. Got them into the bowl picture, got them bowl eligible, and they wound up winning that bowl game. But, I mean, if I remember correctly, I mean, you had a couple safeties that were playing linebacker simply because everybody was out with injuries, et cetera. So, you know, big time next year, next September, we start the football season in the full schedule, and we're just going to have to wait and see and how far the recruiting has taken us. And, you know, you got to remember also, you know, football is a lot different than basketball because, you know, there's a difference when you've got 18-year-old freshmen playing basketball and you have 18-year-old freshmen playing football, you know, maturity, size, strength, et cetera. And, you know, for a lot of our kids last year were playing in you know, in their first FCS or FBS game, et cetera. So it's, you know, we have 12 games next year, you know, and I don't want to start this in January talking about, you know, things in September, but I know a lot of people do it. They look at the schedule and they say, you know, how do you think we're going to do? Are we going to be, you know, 12-0? We're going to be 0-12 or what have you? And I think basically the people that know football would say, boy, if they can win 5 or 6 games in their first year in FBS, that would be really, really, really a great accomplishment.
Really, and I'll leave you on this too. And I told this to Wood, and of course you've documented. It's been well documented too. In all the years I've been in broadcasting since I've been 19, I don't ever remember a visiting coach going on the road in the middle of a game to tell the opposite coach on live television, "Well, we're getting beat, we're tired, we're sore. Let's shorten the game." I could never imagine Woody Hayes or Lou Saban or Nick Saban ever saying that. That took a lot of guts from Bobby. I know he's a very confident guy, very proud guy, but that really was over the top on live TV. I'm not sure if that would have flown on CBS or Fox. He was lucky it was on regional television.
Well, Bobby made a decision that he thought would be best for his football team. And he's the head man, and you got to go with that. I know there are people on one side that don't agree with it, and there are people on the other side that agree with it.
Sure.
Bottom line is, when you're a leader, you got to make decisions a lot of people don't like. But in his particular case, I mean, he knew exactly what the injury report was. He knew where his kids were, et cetera.
Yeah.
And he made a decision that he thought was best for his football team. So you got to go with it. And that was over. That was back in November, and that was when we were in the making the transition from FCS to FBS. But it's a whole new season, and football practice starts. And I guess this is probably about another. This is January, so about another 7 more months. And he'll have his kids there, et cetera, and officially in mid-August, and new season. And I think when they start hitting, putting the pads on, everybody's going to forget what happened back in November down at Chapel Hill.
Yep, spring ball, exactly. And he's a gentleman. That's all that matters. And Rick, all the best to you. Always a pleasure to talk to you on Sports Scene, and we'll see you down the road, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Rick Kiefner right there, one of the voices of Old Dominion Broadcasting, longtime radio veteran here in Hampton Roads. Greg Bicaveras. And I'll say this too. It's the distractions a lot of these football teams do. Look at the Redskins again for going to Richmond. What did that accomplish other than boosting a little bit of the economy in Richmond? It was a big distraction for a team that rarely makes the playoffs, and the Redskins had a bad year. They're still in disarray. Yes, they got a brand new coach in Coach Gruden, not John Gruden, but younger brother that was almost an interim coach for the Destroyers here in Virginia. They have to get wins and losses. You can't blame it all on RG3. He is still in his second year. In his first year, he made the playoffs. How many people make the playoffs in their first year? Not many teams do. But the bottom line with the Redskins, they have to win. It doesn't matter who their coach is. They don't need the distractions. Also for Virginia football, Mike London, again, a great guy, great personality. My mom taught him in high school at Bethel High School, but he doesn't win. And these things that used to come down to CNU or Old Dominion and have practices in the spring doesn't need to do that. Stay close to home, get buttoned up, get ready for Richmond, get ready for UCLA, and start preparing now, because the more prepared you are, it'll show on game day. With that note, we'll come back on Sports Scene after these messages.
Finks Car Care is your place for all of your automotive needs. They handle state inspections, brakes, tune-ups, oil changes, transmission service, radiator repair. They have a wide variety of tires, and when it comes to your car, they do it all. Visit their 2 locations at 2711 Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth and 2236 South Military Highway in Chesapeake. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 545-3573.
Attention gun enthusiasts, your complete store for guns is at 240 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake. Tom and the staff will assist you with tactical guns, custom AR builds, and they handle service and repair. Battlefield Guns and Ammo has specials, and they buy, sell, trade, consign, and do FFL transfers, and always look out for the military and the police. Log on to BattlefieldGunshop.com and call 410-7720. Open Monday through Saturday, this is your store for guns, ammo, and accessories. Battlefield Guns and Ammo in Chesapeake.
Nor'easter season is here, so don't get all wet.
Protect your house. Call Crawl Space Door Systems at 363-0005. Reduce your flood insurance, reduce the threat of mold and insects, and save energy. Crawl Space Doors, air vents, flood vents, vent covers, and fans can help you stay dry or get you dry quickly. Contact Crawl Space Doors for more information at 363-0005 or online at crawlspacedores.com. Stay dry, my friends.
Tidewater is a fishing paradise, but if you want the best places to go and the best methods to catch the best fish you don't want to miss,
Fishing Tidewater with Captain Don Lancaster every Saturday morning, 7 to 9 a.m. on AM 1650. The award-winning Fishing Tidewater provides the latest news for anglers, updates on tournaments, where you can find the best boats and equipment, and where to find the big ones. You can also call in and tell some big ones. Fishing Tidewater with Captain Don Lancaster every Saturday morning, 7 to 9 a.m. on K-Talk 1650. Let's get back to Greg Bigoveris and Sports Scene on 1650 WHKT.
And thank you very much, Ken Johnson. Wrapping up the final segment right here on Sports Scene, heard every Wednesday from 12 to 1 right here on News Talk 1650. Save the date. Go to gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link for archive shows as well. And Devontae and I were talking about the Duke-Virginia game also with as well. And, of course, you talk about the great matchup for Duke. And, of course, they consistently win no matter who their talent is. And they've got young players that get it done as well, whether back in the day, whether it's Mike Jaminski or Christian Layton or whoever, Coach K gets it done. The head coach at Duke since 1980-81 season. So he gets it done. He's also coached the Olympics. You got to give him a lot of credit. The only thing people don't like from the outside is their arena. But you know what? The fans at home like it. The Cameron Crazies like it. There's nothing like great college basketball. But you know, one thing about college basketball in the NBA, they don't get a whole lot of attention till after the football season is over with. And of course, that's the big thing. And of course, basketball always heats up more, you know, like the Miami Heat. They don't take the regular season as serious as some teams because they know they're going to get it done during the postseason. Yes, they lost to Brooklyn and the Knicks, but you think they're going to lose to them later on in the year? I doubt it. The Heat are still the best team in the NBA, and Indiana might be a close second. They're really, really good. As far as college basketball, Syracuse in that zone. Jim Boeheim, he gets it done as well right here. This is Sports Scene as well right here on News Talk 1650. Let's welcome our business spotlight, Tommy from Mona Lisa's in Ocean View. Tommy, welcome, my friend.
Hey, how you doing, Greg?
Good. Always to talk to you, my friend. What are you cooking up, first of all, at Mona Lisa's? And congratulations, 11 years right there at the restaurant.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, we're cooking up meatloaf today. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and gravy, and green beans for lunch. This is our business spotlight. Tell us where you're located at 9583 Shore Drive in Norfolk. It's really grown over there since you've been a kid. Yes, sir. I'm talking about big time. I'm talking about we got East Beach coming in all the way down Shore Drive, going through Ocean View, right around the restaurant. I'm talking about great houses where they had the Home-A-Rama at, too, this year. And, of course, I know you're looking forward to the Super Bowl there. You're going to be having a big party there as well. Oh yes, we're gonna we do a big Super Bowl party every year, man. We put a buffet out throughout the whole game. People that's come in want to have a couple drinks and watch the game. I'm gonna have a small buffet set up free to everybody that comes in and has a good time with us. Of course, Tommy's all over the place in radio too. And I'll say this: one thing people don't realize about Tommy and Mona Lisa's in Ocean View, Tommy, you feed a lot of the people on Christmas Eve. Is that correct? Every year, that's a big heart of us. Every year we've been here, we do a customer appreciation, which we put out we put out all kind of free food for our customers that come in, and then we collect toys and we collect canned goods. And on Thanksgiving and on Christmas Eve, when we're done, we find us an unfortunate family in Ocean View, and we just shatter them with toys and food. And you have Christmas Eve. A lot of great entertainment on the weekends too, right, Tommy? Yes, sir. We got a band called Fine Swiss Cheese coming this Friday night. They're a label band. They're like really good. We got Snack Bar Jones. We got Quick Fix. We got karaoke every Wednesday up here. And we got a lot of great things going on. And, of course, great pizza and spaghetti. MonaLisasOV.com, 3620200. Go by and see Tommy and the staff. Tommy, all the best to you and your family. Okay, my friend? All right, Greg. Thanks to you guys. I really appreciate it. Always a pleasure. Tommy right there from Mona Lisa's in our business spotlight. And, of course, it all makes it work. And really, that's really generous of a business to open up his heart to give the Hampton Roads community a free buffet like you did a few weeks ago on Christmas Eve. That's what really attracted me as far as, helping the community at large without wanting anything back. Again, my picks this week. Who are your picks? We can open it up for a few minutes at 454-1650. Give us a call right now live on the radio, 454-1650, 454-1650. Again, New England and Denver. And, of course, a lot has been made about Brady and Manning. And, of course, I'll say this, too. Even when the Colts played the New England Patriots, there were still some Colts guys that played with Manning that remember getting beat a lot
by the Patriots, and that is definitely the case as well over the years too. But you look at New England and Denver showcased on CBS, and I really think it's just going to be tough. For so much pressure is on Manning about, am I going to win this game? Am I not going to win this game? Like it or not. And I think really when you think about Denver and New England, I think the pressure is going to be on Manning because he wants to get one more Super Bowl ring. I think it's going to be too much at home and I think Denver will win it in a very close game. Weather should not be an issue. Now the 49ers and Seattle, a history there between Carroll and Harbaugh. Of course, they faced each other at USC and Stanford, respectively. The 49ers might be playing the best football in the NFL right now. Kaepernick has got it going on. He's another young quarterback like Russell Wilson, RG3, Dalton, but he's excelled. He actually went to the Super Bowl last year, of course, losing to the Ravens. And I think the 49ers, home or road, it's not going to make that much of a difference because the flight from San Francisco to Seattle is very short. Now, the problem is it's going to be like an earthquake on the field because the fans make it very, very intense for any team to play there, regular season or postseason. I think that alone, like I said earlier, will move Seattle to the top, and they'll win that game. I think it's going to be a Denver-Seattle Super Bowl. Now, what's ironic about that? At one time, Seattle was an AFC team. I think a lot of people want to see Denver and San Francisco. The Super Bowl will be on Fox TV on February 2nd. I'm really going to wonder, we'll talk more about this in the next few weeks, how it's going to look on national TV in the winter, in the cold, with possible snow. What fans are going to be out there braving the cold. But we saw that in Green Bay a few weeks ago as well because it was very cold there, and luckily the weather has changed. But who knows what it's going to be like in a couple weeks during the Super Bowl on February 2nd. It's a rare commodity for the NFL to move away from warm weather like the West Coast in California or in Florida to have the Super Bowl. And really curious about what your thoughts are about it as well. We'll talk more about it and more focused about it once we know who the teams are. We're going to talk to Jay Randolph from NBC Sports formerly next week on the show as well. Jay used to come down here and call the golf tournament in Kingsmill, so he'll be our featured guest as well. Also, Matt Mahalik from Norfolk State, too, will give us an update, too, right here on Sports. And you can find me on Twitter at Greg Bick, at GJBTV, and at Sports Highlight as well. For those of you that called earlier, call in sooner next time at 454-1650. Save that phone number for future numbers at 454-1650. This show will be archived on gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link. It'll be up there within 24 hours, and past shows are up there as well, too. So, again, a lot going on. College basketball starting to heat up. We talked to Dave Kane as well, and a lot's going on, too, with Virginia doing very well in basketball. They got Florida State, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and Notre Dame. Really impressed how Virginia's playing, and really kind of surprised how North Carolina's playing. They've done very well against the good teams, but struggled during the heart of the season. Roy Williams is really going to be scratching his head. Kind of a young team, but McAdoo is on that team. He's from this area. He's a really bona fide top player. He's smart by staying in school. I still think he needs another year to mature, and then he'll be ready for the NBA. Of course, his uncle played for the Lakers with Magic and Kareem. My all-time favorite player was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So a lot going on right here on Sports Scene between the NFL, college basketball, the NBA, a lot going on in pop culture as well. So really great guest today. Again, Dave Kane, the voice of Virginia football and basketball. Rick Kiefner, the voice of Old Dominion basketball as well. And Tommy giving us a business spotlight, Posolero from Mona Lisa's Pizza as well. Of course, giving back to the community. That's what he does right here on 1650 AM WHKT. So again, I want to thank our great guests today, Dave Kane, Rick Kiefner. For more, log on to gjbtv.com. Marketplace sponsors, support them. They support us right here on the radio and online. And tell your friends about 1650 AM as well. And also find them on Facebook and Twitter too as well. Facebook and Twitter really are the way people are going mobile in 2014. So for Devontae and Ken Johnson, I'm Greg Bicaveras. Happy Wednesday, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Greg. Good job as always.